Good evening, guys. Welcome back to another video. It's Stephen here the day after Manchester City's very impressive 5-0 win against Huddersfield Town in the FA Cup. It was satisfying. And, of course, 5 goals means 5 things that we learned from Manchester City's performance. I've just literally seen the breaking news as I'm going live that Manchester City will face Tottenham away in the Emirates FA Cup 4th round. I didn't want another treble anyway, you know what I'm saying? I didn't want the FA Cup. I'm bored of the FA Cup, actually. I think the FA Cup's overrated. Don't even rate the competition. Terrible competition. A stinker of a competition. And, yeah, I don't care about it. Spurs away. Surely at some point we're going to have to beat them. Surely we'll have to. But that is not an easy draw at all. The only thing is, of course, it's a very different Spurs these days. It really is. Under Ange, they'll play a very high line. They'll be aggressive. And who knows, man? Who knows? With De Bruyne, hopefully Haaland, Doku, everyone doing their thing, it could be a very different story. But that, of course, is so far away. There's no point worrying about Spurs just right now because it just doesn't matter. We've got plenty more things to talk about before we get to that. As Aspie said in the chat as well, I'll just be happy if we score away. First we've got to score away at this Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, as Guardiola once said. That's all we need this season. Do that, and it's job done for the season, basically. Anyway, this is 5 things that we learned. I would like to say if you are new to the channel, I'm sure people in the chat will let you know that this is a good channel for Manchester City content. I try and be fair and reasonable, and hopefully reasonably entertaining along the way. A lifelong City fan, of course. If you are new here, please do give this video a massive like. I don't know how massive like is. Maybe it's just a like, and then like just going, I really like this video to yourself. That's what a massive like is. Subscribe as well if you're new here. It does help support the channel. Let's get to 70k if we can. It'd be good to get there. I want to get there. I've been staring down 70,000 subscribers for an awful long time, and I need to get there. Come on. We can do it. Anyway, 5 things that we learned. I did my match reaction yesterday. You can watch that for a little bit more detail about the game. But I'm going to start initially with the obvious place to start, I would say. The very obvious place to start. KDB changes everything. That man really does have that aura, doesn't he? I was at the Etihad Stadium yesterday, and the sense of anticipation when Kevin De Bruyne ran down the touchline to start warming up. I think Jurgen Klopp said recently, last week, that Kevin De Bruyne is warming up and the whole Premier League is shaking. You can sort of feel it. You generally can feel it. There was a fever pitch, a fervour, an excitement. And I know, to quote Arctic Monkeys, anticipation has a habit of setting you up for disappointment. But with Kevin De Bruyne, I don't think that is the case. I don't think it is. I really think Kevin De Bruyne has that genuine impact and that genuine presence, that superstar aura, that he does change everything. Like, I was a little bit apprehensive when he came on the pitch, and I said in my match reaction last night that I was watching him intently. I wanted to see the signs of the tools and the things that make up Kevin De Bruyne. I wanted to see the pieces all there. Whenever you Kevin De Bruyne, I think of that powerful, long, elegant stride. I think of that crisp, incisive passing. I think of him seeing things that no one else does. I think of him rasping a shot with either foot, his left or right. I think of him drawing people in or doing those overlapping runs on the right. We saw all that of yesterday. All the traits that make up a Kevin De Bruyne, those unique and wonderful traits, were all there in abundance at times, actually. And yes, while there was a little bit of rustiness, and yes, of course, his fitness needs to get better, that was still Kevin De Bruyne. And the biggest fear that I've had, and I'm sure you guys have had the same fear as well, and I'm sure the Premier League haven't had this fear, but I've had the fear that he will come back and maybe the injuries would have taken a toll on him a little bit. But it doesn't seem to be the case. And if anything, actually, there's been some wonderful quotes from Kevin De Bruyne today about how he just feels great. He feels happy. These are quotes from De Bruyne today, and I quote, he said, "When you have 3 kids between 3 and 7, I'm basically a taxi driver, but I enjoyed it. I think that they enjoyed that daddy could watch games. Now it'll be harder for the missus and everyone to work around the programme. I could enjoy things I've not been able to do. Maybe it was good to refresh. No new hobbies, but it was nice to bring my son and daughter to practices and see their games, what they do. I could go on holiday, which was never possible." I also said I don't expect to be playing too many Man City games. Newcastle next week is a big game, so I suspect to be back on the bench. I want to play every game, but in the back of my mind, I need to take care of myself. Basically, he said, when I reflect on my career, Playing the last 10 years non-stop with a short break, maybe it was good for me to reset a little bit in a way and take care of myself, but it's not really possible during the year. And I think he's right. I think in general, De Bruyne needed this rest. 10 years of physical toil and mental strain as well. I know footballers have a really good lifestyle, like they earn a lot of money, but it's a physical job, and physical jobs, it doesn't matter how healthy you are, eventually start to take the strain on your body. You might not sleep quite well, you're constantly getting on a plane, traveling on a coach, and it's very well paid, but I think they probably start to miss the family a little bit. And I'm a dad now, I can relate to it a little bit. The thought of sometimes I'm going to London tomorrow for work, and even just the thought of going away for a night or two, I'm not staying overnight, but even being away from the daytime from my son, I do think, and he's at the age now where he's doing something new every single day, and I do think, I'm going to miss out on something. I just hate being away from him. Now imagine flying away every other day. He'll be missing stuff. He'll be missing firsts, moments, first time they crawl, walk, say this, that. And I understand that now. And I think every now and then you just need a few moments with your kids. And I think he's probably enjoyed it. And I think it's given him perspective. And I think De Bruyne has come back fresh, happy, and I'm happy for him. And I do think he changes the dynamic of this team as well. I saw De Bruyne yesterday that draws people in with his unique attributes, his unique mentality. I don't think it's a coincidence whatsoever that City just looks dangerous, more dangerous when he was on the pitch. He draws people in, he makes a certain kind of runs, and he gives confidence for Oscar Bobb and Phil Foden to express themselves even more. Not that Phil needs it right now, but I don't think it's a coincidence that one of the most respected footballers in the history of the game, probably the best player in the league, easily in my opinion the best player in the league actually, I think the superstar of this league, when he's actually back, I think it changes everything, and it's scary for everyone else. It's scary because Kevin De Bruyne is a true superstar, and at that brief glimpse yesterday, 15 minutes it took to pull out the most Kevin De Bruyne cross for an assist. KDB, to quote someone in the chat, Fobo, KDB is him, and it's absolutely remarkable to witness. Oscar Bobb is another potential future star. The City Football Academy is a conveyor belt of talent at the moment. Of course, it was Phil Foden, Micah Richards at one point in the past, but then obviously Rico Lewis, a recent addition. Cole Palmer moved on to Chelsea. Michael Hamilton's coming through. We've seen obviously Jacob Wright get a game yesterday, but Oscar Bobb right now just seems like a future star. While people like Brahim Diaz and Tosin Adebayo, Manu Garcia, Alex Garcia, Jadon Sancho to an extent all moved on and didn't quite, for whatever reason, end up a Manchester City first team player. I think like Oscar Bobb is going to be a future starter. I watched him yesterday, and of course throughout the season I've been watching him for many years as well as a youth team player, and got the sense of a man who just gets it. Every now and then you see a player who just fits in a certain situation. There's something about his game, the understanding of the way the game moves around him, the understanding of when to make a pass, when to dribble past someone, when to take a shot. That is very, very hard to teach. You either have it or you don't. You can get a little bit better, but if you're not like at least an 8 out of 10, I don't think you're ever going to be an 8 out of 10 at that. I think if you're like 5 out of 10, you can probably get to a 7. But I don't think someone who's just not really got the vision is ever going to be a genius passer or have that brilliant sense of pauser. I think you're born of it. I think Rico Lewis was born of it in terms of, I think naturally the energy of the game just sort of flows around him. He understands where he needs to be at all times. I think Oscar Bobb has a similar mentality where I know he's not a midfielder as such, he's more of an attacker, but I think he understands the game state. He understands when to keep it simple, when to dribble, when to pass, when to cross, when to shoot. And I think that's what's really exciting. That intelligence, when you ally that with that delightful burst of pace, he's so shifty. That's the best way to describe Oscar Bobb. He's just shifty, man. Like, he just moves like a little. He looks like, when you see fishermen catch like a fish and they try and hold it, it slips out the net. He's like that. He just kind of goes and goes and goes. And the footwork, I saw someone compare him to a left-footed Hazard yesterday. I sort of see it. His dribbling style, of course, he's not quite that level. He's not that level. I don't know if he'll even reach Hazard's level. But I can see what they mean by that in terms of the low shift of gravity, the way he darts past people. Exceptional technique, high elite level technique already. And the only thing that's going to come with time is, once again, he'll just get better. He'll get a little bit stronger. He'll get a little bit more confident. He'll understand the rhythm of those around him. He'll become a better finisher with time. He'll make better decisions, even better. If he's an 8.5 out of 10 decision maker, he'll be a 9.5 out of 10 by the time he's 22. And I do think when you look at Manchester City's wing options right now, of course, you've got Doku, Jack Grealish on the left, Bernardo Silva is currently on the right. Phil Foden is playing as a midfielder right now, and he could be there. But both Phil and Bernardo want to play for the middle. It's open, you know. Cole Palmer's gone. Morris is no longer there. It's open. And I think Oscar Bobb is genuinely a future star. There is something potentially brilliant there for Oscar Bobb, and I do think he has the humility, the magnetism to his game. He draws people in. I think he has a little bit special, something a bit special. I think for a young player, especially a young attacker, you've got to do something special every time you're on the pitch. You've got to impact the game. You just have to. The levels are so high, and Guardiola's such a demanding manager that if you're not going to stand out every single game, you're going to disappear, unfortunately. And the best young talents do that. And I see Oscar Bobb, and I see a future starter. Guys, please give the video a like. Over 100 people watching. Let's get the likes if we can. Let me know what you think about Oscar Bobb down in the chat. And subscribe to the channel while you're at it too. The one thing that stood out for me yesterday, it's obviously something we've been expecting for a while, but it stood out for me yesterday because we saw it in action all of a sudden. Was the attacking versatility. The variety that Manchester City's attack has got right now, it's just quite remarkable. It's ridiculously exciting. I'm going to get lineup builder on it because I want to build it. I want to build this lineup, and because I think it's so exciting when you look at Manchester City's options. There is just so many players and so many different ways to affect a game, and it just excites me. I can't deny it. It really does. I think City right now, I think there's an element of variety to the City's game, which is a little bit unheard of right now in terms of what we can bring in. Let me just line this up 1 second. That's not the right one, I don't think. I have to make that a bit smaller. 1 sec. I want to just basically draw the options on the pitch, because when you really start to spell it out, what we've got, it's brilliant. It's brilliant. It's exciting, and I think it's got to give Pep so much to work with. So here we go. So, of course, I think Alvarez will go back to being a striker. You'll have Erling Hughley. You'll have that there, which is ridiculous, you know. You're going to have over here, it's going to be Jack and Doku. I think over here, I'm going to put Silva and Bobb, because I think that's basically the options there. And then you're going to have, which is, I think this is just getting stupid, you're going to have KDB, Nunes, I would say. And then here it'll be Foden, you know, Foden, but what? It's basically those, isn't it? Foden, it's basically that really, isn't it? It's basically now, of course, Rodri behind them with cover or whatever. Maybe covers up there as well, but either way, I think this is the sort of the threat you've got up front, and I think it's quite exciting, to be honest. It's a ridiculously versatile set of options, and I think it's quite special what we've got. When you think about the versatility, you've got Oscar Bobb's footwork on the right over there, like drifting past people. Bernardo Silva, sorry, I wish it was David Silva. Bernardo Silva's relentless trickiness. You got KDB, of course. I'm going to put De Bruyne back there properly. Sorry to Nunes, but you know. No, actually, I'll give him a bit of crap, actually. You got KDB, of course. He's the master of going out wide. Nunes as well. To be fair to Nunes is really good in these little spaces at the moment. And very good as well. It was, of course, his little 1-2 with Foden to cut it back to Rico to Julian to get the goal. You got Foden, of course, at the moment, right? He's playing wonderfully. Erling Haaland, Julian Alvarez, of course, can play here as well, where Foden is or De Bruyne is. Haaland is probably the best striker in the world. You got Jack Grealish, who's a very pause to take. Doku is ridiculous. I mean, at some point, we could see this on the pitch, by the way. I'm going to put it out there now. We could see this on the pitch at some point, which is just... it's quite remarkable in terms of exciting. Obviously, he'll be there instead Silva, but I just can't wait to see one day that forward line where it's like Doku, dribbler, Foden, dribbler, brilliant, KDB, Bobb, dribbler. It's just ridiculous. And I'm very excited. The versatility that we've got. There's going to be so many options. So many options to unpick the lock, so to speak. And I think that's, to me, is what I'm really excited by. It's just quite stupid. Like, there's so many different ways to break down that door and bang it down. Be it the brilliance, the sheer blunt brilliance of KDB, the majestic grace of Phil Foden, the shifty, ridiculous, intelligent footwork of Oscar Bobb, or the electric, incredible dribbling of Doku, the blunt force that is Erling Haaland, or Alvarez's instinctive, wonderful brilliance up front, be it as a 10 or as a striker. It's very, 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 very exciting. Very exciting. Because I think City need that variety. The fourth thing we've learned is that this could be Foden's best ever form. Right now, Phil Foden is playing at a level that is quite remarkable. I don't know if it is. I immediately go back to his left wing run during the Champions League a few years back. There's one point when he was playing false nine, which was excellent as well. But I think right now, Phil Foden has reached the completeness to his game where not only is he creating 1 billion chances, but he's also scoring loads of goals as well. And the high-quality goals, the very high-quality goals. Cast your mind back to his goal against Newcastle at the start of the season. I feel like that was a sort of teaser of what was to come this year when he dribbled past a few people. It's ridiculous. It's a wonderful reign of form he's in right now. I mean, I think Phil will stay central. I think Pep's going to give him a go. One thing I do like, of course, right now as well is Phil's partnership with this man here, Julian Alvarez, as well, next to him, is stupid. They're both scoring so many goals. They're both getting so many assists. Alvarez, of course, a recent receiver of Foden passing the previous game for a goal. Alvarez returned the favour yesterday for Foden. They're just getting so much joy out of each other's game right now. And I think Phil Foden, look, a lot has been talked about Phil finding his best position and so on. I think Phil has been exactly what he needed to be for many years now. There's a tendency in the modern era, and not just in football, to want everything now. Everything has to be now. I want everything now. I need it. That's an Arcade Fire song for you there. But I think we're impatient. I think we forget just how much Phil Foden has achieved, how young he is still, how long he's got left of his career, and what Guardiola's been trying to teach him. I know we all wanted Phil Foden to play central, but you've got to look what he's been up against for the past several years. David Silva, a genius. Kevin De Bruyne, a genius. Bernardo Silva, a genius. Ilkay Gundogan, a genius. And then, of course, he's been up in the forward positions against Sterling, Sane, Mahrez, Gabriel Jesus, Brazil's number 9, even Aguero as a forward position. It's been absolutely ridiculous what Phil Foden's had to sort of get ahead of to get a slot in this team. Yet he's found a way to be crucial at times. And I think we need to have a little bit of perspective just what Phil Foden's accomplished so far. And everyone wanted him to be in the centre. But as Guardiola always said, it takes a long time to learn what you have to have, what you have to do to be a central player for him. You either got it or you don't. But Phil Foden is taking a bit of time, and he's still only 23 years old. He'll be 23 for the entirety of the season until May when he turns 24. And even then, he'll be younger than when David Silva or Kevin De Bruyne signed for this club. And the signs for me already that he's getting to their level in that role potentially. I think he could be a special player, a truly special player. But we forget it just takes time. And I think Phil, finally, you look at the lessons he's learned. He's learned how to play as a left winger, defensively covering back, of course, for his fullback, but going on the outside and crossing a ball, beating his man as a traditional winger. He's learned to play as a right winger, utilising the overlap from Kyle Walker or whoever's the right back going past him, cutting inside, playing those little passes, accelerating past 1 or 2 challenges, getting his shots off on the left or curling across in. He's learned to play as a false 9, back to the ball, strong defenders, pushing him down, sort of having to hold up play and sort of slow things down a little bit for City, while also developing a bit of a poacher's instinct and scoring goals. Now he's learning to play as a central midfielder too. The variety of things that he's had to learn in these roles has took his game to a level where he's so well-rounded right now. You can sense a maturity to his game as well. There was a bit yesterday, if you go and watch back, I watched an Oscar Bobb compilation. I was just watching it this morning. Very good. But there was an early shot where Oscar Bobb dribbled past a couple of people and he dragged the shot wide at the near post. You'll remember that. And he probably should have passed to Phil Foden, actually. But Phil didn't complain. Oscar Bobb just did that. And he literally just did that and he beat himself up a little bit. And Phil went over to him and patted him on the back and went, "Don't worry, come on, man." And he got him going. It was just such wonderful camaraderie, such wonderful teammate behaviour. And that's the kind of thing that actual leaders do. He's always been obviously a team player, Phil Foden, but there was a maturity of I am your senior player here. And despite being 23 years old, he's been around now professional football for several years. And you can tell that he's just reached a level of confidence that comes from experience with David Silva, Gundogan, Yaya, De Bruyne, all these legends of the game. And you can tell he's been learning lessons here and there. And right now, I think Phil Foden is reaching his best form. And he's finally going to reach his potential. I think it's scary just how good Phil Foden can be because he's a special footballer. And I love it. He's definitely, I really honestly believe his level has shot up recently in terms of his control of the game. He's not forcing it. He's using the ball wonderfully, creating chances, scoring goals. As Beppe said in the chat, our boy is growing up. He's getting old, man, and I feel old. Finally, on the flip side of getting old, let's talk about some youth. The CFA is shining right now. I saw Sky Sports last night. They posted a clip. I think it was Gareth Ainsworth, one of the manager, and another one. So I don't know who it was. But they were actually praising Manchester City. It felt weird to hear some praise on Sky for Manchester City. And the clip was about how City deserve great credit for bringing these academy players through. They were talking about Rico Lewis and his intelligence. And they made a good point. They said, do you know how impressive it is for the academy to create players that have treble-winning quality? And it is. It's really impressive. It's very hard to do. And I saw the cynicism in the replies. And it was fans of the teams going, yeah, but is it? And it's funny because it only feels like with Manchester City, where you get cynicism about young players breaking through. Like, it's literally always been a universal accepted truth that young players coming through is something that you just go, yeah, fair play. It doesn't matter. I'll do it for United as well. I'll go, yeah, fair play. They've had like a young player in their squad for God knows how many years in a row now. And I'll always admire that. I think clubs that bring young players through, to me, it's the ultimate success in terms of player development. I think it is. I think if you can bring a young player through, especially when they're from the local area, I think it's brilliant. And the fact City are still hit with cynicism for that, despite doing it the right way. They really are. It says it all. But I think we need to draw attention to the CFA because it is shining. And I'm glad that Sky pointed it out and these two managers, because right now, look, for years, I was very critical about the use of the academy players. I really genuinely was. And you remember me from years ago on Twitter or in videos, I felt like some of these young players could have got a chance and been very good for us. And I still feel that way. I look back now and see some of them, like Alex Garcia right now, he's one of the best DMs in Spain, you know, and he's at Girona. Brahim is a wonderful squad player right now for Real Madrid. He would be very useful in this team every now and then. I still believe Tosin, if he'd stayed around a little bit, would have been much better than he is currently as a backup centre-back. Maybe I'm wrong there, but I do think some of these players, maybe they're not the best examples, but I do think largely we've had some players that their development maybe would have gone like that, but if they've been with better players, it might have gone like that. I do believe largely some players could get better in different circumstances, but that's all irrelevant. The only point I was going to make is that I don't think the criticism of youth players getting chances anymore is valid. I think City have got really good at that. I think when you look at the size of the squad and what we've been achieving with youth players in it, I think it's ridiculous. I think Pep's been great recently. I think he has. Phil Foden is an established world-class player these days. Rico Lewis is absolutely a first-team member. He's part of that treble-winning side. Rico Lewis has broken through. Oscar Bobb broke through. Cole Palmer did break through, so to speak, but he moved on. It could have been four. It could have been Oscar Bobb, Cole Palmer, Lewis and Foden this season. But it's just the three, Oscar Bobb. And more than that too, we've seen Michael Hamilton, of course, now make his debut, score a goal. And yesterday, we saw Jacob Wright make his debut. A very talented 18-year-old number 6 who's been at City since he was about 8 years old. And the thing is, what makes it so exciting for me is they're all local. Phil Foden is from Stockport, you know. Rico Lewis is from Radcliffe in Bury. You got Michael Hamilton, who's from... Where's he from again? I can't remember. He's like, is he Charleston? No, he's near Berryway somewhere as well. He's not far either. He's around Berryway as well. Then you've got Jacob Wright, who's from like Chorley way, so that's northwest. It's sort of a little bit further out towards Preston way, I think, Chorley, isn't it? But either way, he's still local lad, you know. He's like the northwest. All these young players, Oscar Bobb, of course, from Norway, but we're getting young lads come through who have been at City since they're 9 years old. All they know is the blue of Manchester City. And the quality. They're really quality. And apparently Jacob Wright... Look, I know you can be cynical towards this, but apparently they compare him at the CFA, I saw it earlier, to Jorginho, you know, of course, the Italian international. I know you can turn around and say, oh, he's not that great, but Jorginho is a very, very, very good footballer. He is. I know he's not the most physical, but he's a very smart footballer that under Guardiola would have been an elite footballer, in my personal opinion. And you got to bear in mind, Jorginho at one point was up for the Ballon d'Or, which is crazy, but you would take a Jorginho from your academy, wouldn't you? Come on, be realistic about that, you know? And at the same time, you've got Michael Hamilton, who's going to have a very good career in the game, you know? You got Phil Foden, of course, excellent. Rico Lewis, excellent. The CFA is shining right now. It's bringing us Oscar Bobb, Rico Lewis, Phil Foden. Who else is going to come through? I would not be surprised if by the time Guardiola walks away, we've got 4 or 5 academy players established in the squad. And even just the 3 right now, Foden, Rico, Oscar Bobb, that's 3 out of a squad of like 20. 2 more and it's a quarter of the squad. It's a good number and we're doing well given the levels that we've got. The CFA is cooking and Pep is using these young players. He's giving them a chance, which is, I guess, maybe the positive of having a slightly smaller squad. So anyway, guys, they're the 5 things I want to talk about. I'm very encouraged. I'm enjoying it right now. Things are good. Of course, KDB coming back does change everything. That aura he's got is ridiculous. That ability he's got is second to none. It absolutely is a special sight seeing him back on the football pitch. Of course, Oscar Bobb, I think he's a future starter, as I just talked about a little bit then. He's got so much potential. I do honestly believe the brain he's got, allied with that incredible burst of pace and footwork, that technical ability. Wonderful stuff. He will be a future starter. The variety right now is ridiculous. Be it Doku's dribbling, Bobb's darting brilliance, Foden's guile and ingenuity, KDB's blunt force brilliance. And then, of course, you've got Haaland and Alvarez. It's just so good. This could be Phil Foden's best ever form. I think it probably is, actually. And, of course, the CFA is shining. Guys, they are the 5 things that I took from this game. I really enjoyed it. I thought it was absolutely excellent. If you want to see a little bit more detail, go, of course, check out my match reaction from yesterday. I enjoyed talking about that game yesterday. It was good fun. Please give this video a like. Please subscribe to the channel if you are new here. Help support the channel a little bit by just giving the video a like. And let me know in the comments what the 5 things that you took from the game are. It'd be massively appreciated. For now, though, let's look forward to Spurs away in the FA Cup. Horrible, isn't it? In a bit. Bye-bye. Trent Boynes.